Happening right now, police departments around the country are on high alert after the shooting deaths of two officers in New York.
In New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio is scheduled to speak today, focusing on strengthening ties between police and the community. Yesterday, NYPD officers stood alongside members of the public in Brooklyn to pay tribute to the murdered officers. 40-year-old Rafael Ramos and 32-year-old Winjon Liu were shot and killed as they sat in their police squad car on Saturday. Moments later, the gunman, 28-year-old Ishmael Brinsley, took his own life, police say. One of the victim's aunts spoke at a gathering.
I hope and pray that we can reflect on this tragic loss of lives that have occurred so that we can move forward.
The shooting happened amid gatherings by people protesting police brutality. This weekend, hundreds marched in Philadelphia while others shut down streets in downtown Cleveland. We'll have more on the suspected shooter of the two officers coming up in our next half hour. Meantime, though, we did speak directly with APD this morning to ask if they are under any kind of special alert as a result of the New York shootings. They say not yet, but they add that their officers are required to wear bulletproof vests at all times.
And what happened in New York is a reminder of what could have happened here in Albuquerque.
He got an AK, man. You see that?
Remember Christopher Chase, a man with a tattoo that read "Cop Killer"? He ambushed APD officers at Avenida Cesar Chavez and Broadway last October. He then led police and deputies on a wild chase through the metro, firing off round after round. Two police officers and a deputy were shot. They all survived. Chase would eventually crash into a gas station on 4th and Montano, where officers shot and killed him. The autopsy report states Chase had no drugs in his system.
The reform into APD is supposed to give officers new ways to deal with the mentally ill. But another key issue is discipline, and that's what the Albuquerque Police Officers Association is speaking out against today. The union is challenging the agreement reached between the city and the U.S. Justice Department, saying issues like how officers are disciplined for misconduct are in conflict with their collective bargaining agreement. According to the Albuquerque Journal, the union wants to argue in court for a say in settlement terms. The settlement comes as a result of the Department of Justice's probe into officer-involved shootings. Investigators do not think that the shooting death of a Florida police officer is related to the New York shootings. Marco Antonio Parrilla Jr. is a suspected shooter. Police say he was pounding on doors at the complex, trying to evade an arrest warrant, and he fired at Officer Charles Condek when he showed up. While walking into jail, he had this to say.
You have anything to say for yourself?
I apologize to the family. That was not my intention.
You apologize?
Yes.
He's been charged with murder. Officer Condek has 6 children.
A deal for an ice rink right here in downtown Albuquerque by Christmas is a no-go, and the city is blaming the Isleta Pueblo. It's been the buzz around City Hall. The deal was the Isleta Pueblo would lend the rink to the city in exchange for advertising. The city says the tribe's governor and the casino CEO had already signed off on it, but last week that deal went sour. Sources tell News 13 the casino CEO, Pamela Gallegos, never consulted the tribal council about loaning the city that rink. The tribal council has suspended Gallegos for 2 weeks, and the deal between the tribe and the city is off. But Mayor R.J. Berry says not all is lost.
We'll probably miss Christmas for the rink, but we think we might be able to get it up around New Year's Day or maybe just shortly after.
The city says the Biopark Society has a synthetic ice rink of its own, and they may be willing to negotiate a deal. Now, if that deal goes through, the city says it will test the rink out for the next few months. Time now 6:05. It's that time of year for many of us. The holidays mean lots of time with family, and especially here in New Mexico, it means hitting the slopes.
Oh yeah, and for ski areas here, these next 2 weeks mean big business. While a lot of us are off, ski areas are making sure they're working hard to get the mountain ready so they can reach their bottom line. News 13's Catherine Mazzone spoke with top ski areas here about what they're doing to prepare for the next busy couple of weeks. Catherine.
That's right, Adam. Big business is right. These next couple of weeks account for close to 40% of revenue for many ski areas around the state. Ski New Mexico tells us that's revenue for the entire season. It's why they're doing everything they can to make sure they're ready for an influx of visitors. Places like Angel Fire, Taos, and Santa Fe ski area opened up around Thanksgiving. Santa Fe, for one, says these next few weeks are bigger than opening weekend. They say they can mean the difference between a good year and a great year for them. It's why they say they've worked hard to get their upper mountain open for this past weekend. And they're not the only ones. Representatives at Angel Fire say they just opened the backside of their mountain. That means dozens of more acres of terrain. In fact, nearly 65% of their mountain will be open today. Plus, their Nordic Center and Tubing Hill opened up on Saturday. Angel Fire reps also say they have numerous events planned for these upcoming weeks, including ski and snowboard with Santa, live music, and torchlight parades. Of course, all of this preparation means more staffing.
For the holidays, we're able to pull from locals as well as college students and high school students who may be off during that time. We're able to, specifically within our ski school and lift operations, employ a lot of those locals and college students to staff up for the high demand period.
Now, adequate staffing is an important factor for multiple ski hills throughout the state, but for one ski area, employees are still waiting for lifts to open. I'll have those details coming up in our next half hour. Back to you.
All right, Catherine, thanks. The recent winter storm that hit the state added to already snow-packed mountains, but some areas continue to work around the clock to make more snow for the upcoming holiday rush.
New and developing this morning, Pope Francis is preparing to deliver his annual Christmas address to cardinals and bishops. Every year at this time, the Pope talks about his plans for the church in the coming year. This is video from Sunday when Pope Francis wished Christian pilgrims who had gathered to watch him at St. Peter's Square a joyful and fraternal Christmas. It's been an eventful few weeks for the Pope. He just celebrated his 78th birthday and is said to have played a key role in our country's renewed ties with Cuba. The U.S. is considering whether to put North Korea back on its list of state sponsors of terrorism after the cyber attack on Sony Pictures. The hack was all about the movie The Interview, which plot is to assassinate the North Korea's leader. In an interview on CNN's State of the Union, President Obama says he's reviewing the facts and considering how to respond, but North Korea still denies it was even involved and is threatening to strike back. Sony says it's still working on a way to release the controversial film.
Staples is offering customers who may have been victims of a recent data breach free identity protection today. The retail company says hackers stole information from nearly 1.2 million shoppers' credit and debit cards. It happened at Staples stores nationwide between July and September this year. A man finds
New details just into our newsroom this morning in what some are calling the assassination of two New York City police officers. We've learned the suspected shooter had a lengthy criminal history.
And information just into our newsroom says that shooter had a troubled childhood too, so violent that his own mother was afraid of him. Investigators are looking into social media posts made by the alleged shooter Ishmael Brinsley. They're also trying to determine if Brinsley had attended protests over the deaths of Eric Garner and Michael Brown. Investigators say moments before Saturday's shooting, the accused gunman told passers-by to, quote, "watch what I'm going to do." Police say Brinsley then shot 40-year-old Rafael Ramos and 32-year-old Winjon Liu as they sat in their squad car.
They were just here to protect us, and they got ambushed.
Investigators say before shooting the officers, Brinsley also shot and injured his ex-girlfriend in Maryland. She's in critical condition this morning. Coming up in our next few minutes, we're going to speak with APD too to find out if they're on high alert because of that recent shooting.
Happening today, a teen who killed two young girls in a drunk driving crash is expected to learn his sentence. Wayne Lovato was just 17 when he killed 14-year-old Kayla Martinez and 12-year-old Alejandra Sanchez back in April of 2013. State police say Lovato lost control, flipped the car, and told officers on scene he'd been drinking before he got behind the wheel. The girls, along with 6 other passengers, were ejected during the crash on I-25 just south of Las Vegas. Lovato could face up to 9 years in prison. Teens who like to skip school may miss out on more than their education. They could lose their privilege to drive. That's if one state lawmaker has his way.
I've heard from a lot of parents saying, by the time they reach 16, 15 and a half, sometimes my hands are tied and there's not a whole lot I can do.
Senator Craig Brandt has introduced the bill before. This time he says it's simplified. If a student has 10 or more unexcused absences, a letter is sent home. Parents can appeal if some of the absences were legitimate. If there's no response after 30 days, the MVD is notified and the student's driver's license could be revoked, or if they wouldn't get it, if they would be getting it, they wouldn't get it at all. Some parents like it, while teens, not so much.
The kids do need to stay in school, and if they are missing school, they do need to take their license away.
And I think taking their license away isn't going to do anything. That's just another way they can't get to school.
With this bill, the Juvenile Probation Office would also be notified if those absences rack up. That way they can look into whether or not a child may be abused or neglected.
Some state lawmakers want more funds to combat drunk driving and focus less on ads. According to the Santa Fe New Mexican, the Legislative Finance Committee wants counties to invest more money in patrols and prosecutions to combat drunk driving, not media campaigns or outreach programs. But opponents point out that in the past decade, there have been a drop in alcohol-related fatalities throughout the state. There's been a significant decline, too, meantime, in the number of teenage births in New Mexico. Between 2012 and 2013, the state health department says there was a 10% drop in births for teenagers between the ages of 15 and 19. That is the largest decline in New Mexico in the past 15 years. But the state still leads the nation in teenage births between those ages.
The detention center that's housing illegal immigrants in Artesia is closing at the end of the month. This after the U.S. government opened the largest ever facility set up to receive, house, and process a flood of families from Central America. The facility quietly opened this last week in Dilley, Texas. That's about an hour outside of San Antonio. An immigrant rights advocate says at a cost of $260 million per year to the American taxpayer, there are cheaper options.
Whether it be churches who are in charge of these individuals who can be responsible for them, or community-based organizations, or even one of our most criticized program, giving these individuals electronic bracelets. At the very least, that would be an option that would not cost the taxpayers money.
The Department of Homeland Security says a new facility, quote, promotes and highlights the border security aspects of the executive actions announced by President Obama. State lawmakers are trying once again to increase New Mexico's minimum wage. Democratic Senator Clemente Sanchez is introducing a bill for the upcoming legislative session to raise the hourly minimum wage from $7.50 to $8.30. Another bill by Representative Luciano Varela would raise the minimum to $10.10 an hour. A minimum wage hike was passed in 2013, but the governor vetoed the measure, saying it was too high. She did say that she would support a smaller hike, though. Time now 6:35. The holidays are here for ski areas around the state. That means big business.
Ski New Mexico tells us these next couple of weeks account for nearly 40% of their revenue for the season. But what happens when a ski area misses out on the holiday rush? News 13's Catherine Mazzone headed up to a ski area that is hoping that doesn't happen. Catherine?
Well, that's right, Adam. This is a very important time for resorts. With kids out of school and parents taking time off, families are flocking to ski areas, but not one. Sandia Peak missed their projected opening date of the 20th, and now they're not sure when their slopes will open.
We're really up in the air. We're hoping for the storm to come in on Christmas Day.
Sandia Peak Ski Area Operations Manager Brian Kuhn says a winter weather storm could mean opening just in time for the holiday rush. This is what we saw when we went to the ski area just a few weeks ago, but recent storm and snow has it looking like this now. Kuhn says they have 13 inches at the top of the mountain and 11 at the base. Staff is also working overnight to make snow, and it's adding up, but it's still not enough. Most employees started training on Friday, but for now, that's all they'll be doing until the ski area opens for the season. Now, only a small staff will be on hand until then. Kuhn says that's difficult for employees and other businesses who rely on the area to make money over the holidays.
But it's tough on the staff not knowing when they're going to start. Really hard for them and the locals that count on us for business money coming through the valley. They really feel it when we don't open on time.
Now, Sandia Ski is very close to opening. In fact, Kuhn says groomers were able to drive almost the whole mountain packing down snow. Adam, back to you.
Okay, Catherine, you know, the area says they're still interviewing candidates, too, especially for parking, the cafeteria, the ski and snowboard school as well. Managers will be there all week, they say, from 8 to 4. So if you're interested, they encourage you to go on up and apply.
If you're planning on getting your last-minute holiday shopping done, be prepared to battle the crowds. Yesterday, Coronado Center was packed with a sea of people. This marks the first holiday season at Coronado since it got its new multi-million-dollar makeover. Many people say they had a feeling the crowds would be a little wild, but this was the only time they could make it out.
It was a jungle in there. We last minute shop. It's kind of hard to shop. We have, 5 kids.
That's true. Now, many we talked with say they'll try to get their holiday shopping done earlier next year. It's a busy time for retailers. The National Retail Federation expects holiday shopping to be up about 4% this year compared to last. That means more than $616 billion spent between November and December. Oh, and you said you were out and about shopping.
It was. I've tried to find some stores, too, that weren't packed, and that's pretty hard to find these days.
And how many times do you tell yourself, next year, we're not going to do this?
I know. Don't procrastinate. It always happens.